Hello, my name is Jamie Birchall, and you are listening to and or watching our podcast called Wormhole Pinball
Wormhole
Presents.
Pinball presents. Wormhole Pinball presents.
Today, I'm very, very excited to be joined by two great individuals. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by a very special guest.
And today I'm very excited to be joined by two awesome guests all the way from Arizona.
Hello, and welcome to our podcast we call Wormhole Pinball Presents, a series we started to highlight those in pinball and arcades. And for episode 45, I'm so happy to speak to someone I met very briefly on the floor in Chicago at the Expo, but also at the Women in Pinball seminar at Expo, where she was one of the speakers. Please welcome to the podcast, Krystle Gemnich of Jersey Jack Pinball. Welcome to the Wormhole virtually, Krystle.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my God. First of all, great job on that seminar.
Oh, thanks.
That was one of my highlights of Expo. It really was. I was sitting next to, shout out to Kale Hernandez, Electric Pat. And of course, his wife Rachel was on the panel with you as well.
Yep.
And you were telling your origin story of how you got into pinball. I leaned over, whispered to Kale, and said, I have to have her tell this story on the podcast.
Ah, thanks.
And so when I saw you on the floor, I was like, that's a done deal. I gotta get her on the podcast. This has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's great because Kale and Rachel and I go way back because we worked together at Marco Specialties back in the day, pre and then during COVID times. But
I've had them on many, many times.
they're awesome. They're so great.
Oh my God. I hung out with them most of the expo, the poor guys. I was their third wheel. So
They're troopers. They go to so many shows and they're just so enthusiastic about the hobby and they're just yeah, they're great.
well, can you retell the story of how you started playing? Let's start there, right?
Yeah,
How
yeah,
did you
sure.
start playing pinball? How'd you
So
catch the bug?
So I was in a long-term relationship with somebody. I hate that a man is the reason that I started playing
No, it's
pinball, but
okay.
really so he and then a good mutual friend of ours had been going out and playing pinball at a local bar right near where me and my partner had lived. And there was like an old Spider-Man, I think was what it was, and they were playing it all the time, like Friday night, Saturday night. And then I kind of would come along just as like the reluctant girlfriend, like, all right, I guess I'll go and play pinball with you guys. It's fine. I don't get it, but I'll try and be enthusiastic about it. And kind of started playing, getting a little bit better at it, a little used to it. And then me and my partner split up. And as it goes in a bad breakup, you find things that help you cope and that make you feel better and that you can engage with, and you want to join a new hobby maybe. And it just so happened that that friend of ours who we had been going out to play with started the City League, the Chicago Pinball City League. And so I ended up joining that league after the breakup and just started getting into it, going out and playing pinball and like going to all of these different locations to play and meeting a whole bunch of great people. And then it just kind of took off from there. It it grew into something entirely I had no idea I was even gonna do this as a career. Like it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, it would be kind of cool to work on those games. Like I
Yeah. So one day you just all of a sudden go to Logan's and say, hey, I want to start working on machines.
it wasn't necessarily all of a sudden. I had gone to a few places with some friends. Like we took some trips to St. Louis to see CP Pinball, which now I think is called like Atomic Pinball or something else. And it was like we walked into CP, I'm not sure what it's called now, I'm sorry. At the time was a couple of big like they were like storage facilities. I'm not really sure what they were, but they were in the middle of a parking lot across from like an oil refinery in the middle of just like outskirts of St. Louis. And it had been the first time that I had seen solid state pinballs from the 80s and the 90s and a bunch of EMs, like old Gottliebs, these things that I had never seen before. I had no idea they even existed. And it was like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, look at the way that these are built. Look at how like interesting they are. And that kind of grew my my interest in it a lot more, and I wanted to know more about what was inside and like how they were built, and then going to Logan Arcade, of course, which at the time was a record store. Um, it was like a speakeasy, so it's like you go into the record store, you'd buy a record, and then you'd go in the back and you could play pinball for free, essentially. You just had to buy like a piece of gum or something. Um, and their head tech, whose name was James, he was always there. He was always working on pins, and I saw him and I saw the underside of these games, and I was like, I need to know how these work. Like it just deeper, diving deeper and deeper into it. And then I think Jim Zespi, I mean, I think he recognized me as a regular, and he knew that I was interested, and I wanted to know how it worked, and I was encouraged by a lot of other people like Jack Danger and his friend Nick Campbell to like try, like to find a way to get there, and sure enough, he needed some help one holiday, like cleaning up pins and shopping them out because I think they were understaffed or something. And then he's like, "Yeah, why don't you come in for a week, help us clean them up?" And then after that week, it was like, "Yeah, stay on."
Awesome.
So I essentially became an apprentice, like a junior apprentice is kind of what I called myself. So.
And how long were you there?
I was working at Logan, I think from 2016 to 2019. In
Awesome.
2019, I got the job with Marco and I moved down south to Columbia and I started working for Marco Specialties, customer service, which was also an entirely other aspect of my
Right.
education as far as pinball repair, because it's like I was learning about the parts a little bit more in detail.
Okay.
So,
Does Marco have, real before we talk about them, do they have the secret sauce of hiring some of the nicest people on the planet? I've gotten to know so many of their employees, from Amoto to Rachel and Kale, uh, to Matthew Talley. These are the nicest people on the planet.
they really are. Like I don't know how they do it. It's like a little garden of just like finding wonderful people to work and be enthusiastic and yeah, I get a little bit like sentimental about it because it's like I don't know, it really was a great place to work and not only that, but like you just get to meet so many people going to all those shows. Like it's really cool networking.
Yeah, just the nicest people. So you go down to South Carolina. So you're a Canadian who lives in Chicago that goes to South Carolina. That's a tough one, isn't it?
I've been all over the place.
I've been all over the place too, so I relate to that, right? And
So
when people haven't been all over the place, they're a little spoiled, to be honest with you, because my dad transferred a lot, and your
yeah.
dad transferred, right? That's how you got there?
Yep.
Yeah. So my dad, we went from Long Island, New York to Florida, which is
Hmm.
like crazy,
Wow.
totally weird when I was 16.
Yeah.
And then college in Florida, then met a girl from Chicago, good girl from Chicago, married her up and brought her to Houston, and then that's how I got here. So,
Like what do you tell people when they ask you where you're from? Because that's like the hardest question because like I'm very much like I'm just gonna tell you my life story right now because I don't know how to explain where I'm from. Like I guess I'm a
yeah,
Midwesterner at heart, but like I don't know.
I uh I tell people I identify as a New Yorker, and I'm not trying to be a wise ass about it. It's just those are my formative years. I
Yeah.
still have a slight accent, and I still love the New York Yankees. So I that's kind of how I identify as, I
I'm
guess.
sorry for your loss.
Oh my God, that hurt feelings. I went on a baseball sabbatical, wouldn't even look at the news for a week, wouldn't accept texts from people. Like, 'cause I watch 150 something games a year. Like, I'm
Yeah.
vested. This isn't a joke for Jamie. I'm a big New York Yankee fan, so
Yeah.
it hurt feelings. But so I used to go to South Carolina when I was 12 years old. We went
Really?
to Litchfield, which is South Myrtle Beach, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And that was a culture shock for me because I had never seen the South. I was 12 years old. I had never seen the South. I had never seen South Carolina, which is really South,
Yeah. Yeah, it
right?
is.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, what talk about that culture shock. You go down there, the nicest people. It's just a lot different, right?
It is very different. It's well, and especially when you live, you're used to living in a city. Because I mean, before I moved down there, I was living in Chicago. I was, in one of the kind of I guess you could call it a borough. I'm not really sure, but like and I'm a Midwesterner. I'm a Canadian, and to go down there and to have an entirely different climate, a totally different culture, a different side of the map politically, I guess, however you
Oh
want to
yeah.
put that. Like it was very it was educational.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful down there. I mean, the country, one of the really great things about living down there is the chance to go. Well, first of all, I got to have a car, so I got to travel kind of at will a little bit more than just living in Chicago, riding my bike everywhere. Um, so I go to Tennessee, I go to Atlanta, to the coast. We go to the beach all the time. Like just really beautiful, beautiful country. And like, yeah, it's hot and it's humid. And if you don't have the fortitude to be able to handle that heat, like it can be tough.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it too much. It was it was a nice place to visit.
Right.
I definitely wouldn't really want to live there long term, and I think that was ultimately one of the other reasons why I left. I was there for about 2 years, and um, luckily, I managed to get through COVID while I was down there and did okay, and came back
Yeah.
here, and um, not the pinball down there is also really interesting because in Chicago, you're used to so many barcades, and sometimes you'll go out to the suburbs to travel to people's private homes to play pinball and like tournaments and stuff. Um, and a lot of the tournaments out there were in people's private residences, like people who have farms who would have like an entire barn just full of pinball machines. And
Pretty cool though.
yeah, it was interesting. Again, like a pinball community that's the same but different. Like it's the same core feeling, but it's just it has a different face, right?
Yeah. That's what I love now about since we started the podcast and since we started kind of being social, the wormhole is when we travel to other cities to play in their league or to play in one of their tournaments. I try to do that almost all the time. And,
Yeah,
some people recognize me, whatever. I don't care about that. I'm just coming to check you guys out and play in their tournaments because more often than not, the pinball communities are really awesome.
they are. Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes.
It is, right?
It
Yeah.
is. It's so funny. Like, that's another reason why I really appreciate Expo and like MGC. I don't know if have you ever. So you said that this last Expo was your first Expo, right?
Yeah, it was.
That's
It was my
great.
first. It was
You
my
liked
first.
it?
I really had a great time. I wish we had our shit together. We did because we didn't know what we were doing, Crystal. Like we just didn't. We got the tickets late. There was a hotel rooms open late. Like we did everything wrong. So next time we go, we're just gonna do it better.
Right on.
Yeah.
You should come for MGC in April because that's a really fun show too. Um, there's less pinball, but it's a really fun arcade show, and it's like one of the best Midwestern arcade shows I
Where
would
where
say.
is the Midwest Gaming Classic? Where is it?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Okay. So
Yeah.
I've been asked to come up there too. I know Rachel does a lot of work with that, and I would love to. I'd love to stream with them. I'd love to just go up there and be a commentator because I love doing that so much. So
Just- It's so fun.
yeah, it,
I don't my rules knowledge is not great. It used to be a little bit better when I was playing more competitively, but I think I've kind of fallen off on like tournament stuff a little bit. Now I'm like, I just build them.
yeah, you do. So how does that opportunity come about? That's a good segue, right? How did that
Yeah.
come about?
So it's kind of wild because I was, I said I was starting to feel like, okay, it might be time for me to leave South Carolina. I think that my time with Marco is probably kind of winding down a little bit. And so I updated my resume, and a buddy of mine said, "Oh, hey, Jersey Jack has a listing for customer service. They need representatives or a manager or something." And he says, "Why don't you just take that opportunity to, complete your resume and then just submit it, see what happens. No pressure. Just submit it, see what happens." And so I did, and they called me for an interview, and I had my first interview, and then I think I waited a little bit. I think it might have been a couple of weeks before they got back to me. I don't really remember, but and they said, actually, we might be interested in having you somewhere else. We might put you in a different role because we think that you might be better suited to that rather than customer service. And I was like, "Ugh, yeah, okay, please. I would like to get away from customer service if possible." Um, and then from there, I think I had two more interviews, and then I was asked to come and work for them, and I essentially started off working production, and getting my feet wet in the production environment because I hadn't had that experience yet. So and then I kind of grew into my role of what I do now. So.
Which is, can you talk about that? Are you allowed to talk about your exact
Well,
role?
I can talk about my role a little bit. Yeah. So
Okay.
I my official role is I'm a production development liaison. And what that means is I work in the prototyping phase with the engineers. I learn how to build up the new games that are coming out. And I translate that to the production line. So I help train the team. I teach the managers. I provide quality instructions. So if there's anything that you really have to look out for, stuff like that. And then I also work with the engineers and say, hey, like this might not work great for production. Can we change it? Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, it's and it's great. I don't know. I learn something new every day, and I get to build pinball every day, and that's like it's the
Is it
best.
just a dream come true, really, right now?
I constantly am like, I'm in a weird timeline that it's like that imposter syndrome that's like I'm trying to get over,
Yeah.
where I'm like, how am I in this timeline? How did this happen? Because back when I was going to Jack Danger's studio a lot and playing pinball with him and his buddies, and he would live stream, early days. And I would just dream about it. Like he and I would talk about that. Like, oh yeah, like working in the factory. Imagine that. Imagine if you could like build games every single day or test games every single day. And just being the idea of being a tester was like top tier for me. So the fact that I've like gone like higher and above is really like I joke around like, oh, I'm gonna go back to 2013 and tell me like 30-year-old me, like, hey, guess what? 10 years, keep working hard, like um
It is crazy where life takes you. And it's a journey, and you just jump on board and see where it's just unbelievable. I'm having the time of my life on this podcast. I'm having the time of my life in Wormhole Pinball. And who would have thought, when I moved to Houston, that this would even be possible, that I would even know what a pinball machine is. It's just crazy.
now there are these strange boxes that live in our homes and that we work on and that we sell, and it's like the most like strange niche hobby. It's just like a kinetic enterprise, and it's the fact that we make money off of it is kind of a miracle. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you.
Well,
Like,
one of us does.
what? Oh, are you guys open again?
No, we are. We are.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
joking. I don't make money on a podcast, but on the wormhole itself, we're a 501c3, so we're a charitable museum.
Okay.
And to tell you our story real quick, and
Yeah,
then
please.
we started in COVID too, and we were going to be a pinball bar, and we couldn't get a liquor license because we only have 7 parking spots, and that's just city, right? It's just so we were like the owner of the building, Tim and Christine, they were like, our rent, our renter who left, our taxes are really tiny here. It's not that bad. Why don't we just move in some pinball machines and we'll all just quarantine here? And we were like, yeah, that sounds fun. And that was October of 2020. And then word got around Houston during COVID that these idiots are at a place that they call the wormhole, and they're playing pinball all through COVID. Like that's all they're doing. And it kind of got out, but we wouldn't let anybody come in, and we were calling it Parts Unknown Houston because
Okay.
we didn't want to get COVID. And so we're all quarantining together, like me, John, and Tim, and everyone. We were just eight of us. We're not screwing this up because we had the best time. And Tim had like at the time, I think he had about 140 games in a warehouse, so he would rotate about 25 in here. And then all of a sudden, the COVID lifted, and we're like, well, we got to let some people in here. And there was a league night downtown, and the power went out downtown. And everyone was so bummed they wanted to play pinball, and we all went, come to the wormhole. We're about 10 minutes away. And we brought everybody in, and that's, I guess the rest is history because then people just wanted tournaments here. We grew. We have 3 tournaments a month here. And then we started streaming during COVID because we were like watching Jack Danger. We're like, well, we've got some really rare machines in this joint. I think people want to see them, right?
Yeah.
Like Cosmic Princess, or we got a Future Queen over there, Warlock. We just streamed The Who's Tommy last night. And so we were like, let's just do this. And so Jack was a total inspiration to us. And I used to be on soccer podcasts. So I was just like, they were like, Jamie, you have to do a podcast. You have to do this. You have to do that. And so it's really kind of exploding around us. And now we're a 501c3. We have multiple buildings that we're going to. We have 250 machines. Some Zacharias so rare that no one's ever seen.
That's
And
incredible.
it's incredible what the growth that we've had in the last 3 years. And I'm just riding it. I'm just like, are you kidding me? I get to be the face of this? Are you joking? I should be paying you. I mean, this is the best thing in the world. I'm having the time of my life, Krystle. It's just the smile is ear to ear. So,
That's so fantastic. Do
yeah,
you so
go ahead.
sorry. Do you guys kind of crowdsource your tech help, or do you do it together? Do you have like one dedicated tech that works on all the machines? Like you said that there's one person who owns most of them. I imagine he's pretty savvy with technical.
No, he's the person that owns all the machines. Tim is like a, as bad as being a tech as I am. All right, we know how to clean machines, and we have a tech that started during COVID helping us and started geeking on these machines. His name is Brian. I won't
Mhm.
out him totally. And we had a Zachary, I don't remember which game it was that started geeking him out. So we have this vault. We call it the vault. It's a warehouse, right? Filled with pinball machines.
Yeah.
And we've constructed this to the nines for them. They have their own bathroom, their own tech bathroom, everything that they can think of will be in this vault. And we just want them to fix these machines because they're coming in from Europe, they're coming in from all over the world,
Yeah.
and they're geeking. And Brian has now amassed a team that is geeking on fixing all these really, really rare ones. And we can't wait to showcase them.
Wow. Huh. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, we just got a Vern's World, which is I don't remember who makes it. It might be Bell Games. So I'm telling you, some of these are really awesome. Like Vern's World, like Escape from the Journey at Center of the Earth, or some of those books that he had.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
there's a
Jules Verne.
there's a pinball machine called Vern's World, and it's almost done. We're ready. That might be coming soon, I hope. I
Wow,
would love
cool.
Vern's World to come. It's got a volcano in the middle. It's got all this crap. It's just some of these Italian and Spanish games are just amazing.
Did you see the Australian games in the free play room in at Expo?
Yeah, we tried to buy one of them. We wanted what was it? I wanted Dennis the cricket one.
Yes.
Was that what are they called? Haiku? What were they called?
Oh
Oh,
shoot.
someone's gonna kill me for this. Hankin.
Hankins, yeah.
Okay, so we were playing dollar games, me, Rachel, John from the Wormhole, and Kale on that Hankin Dennis Lindsay or Lipsy, whatever his name is, the cricket player.
How's that? The game was called How's That?
Yeah,
That's strange.
it was great. It was great. I loved it. I was in that room a lot. Were you in that room a lot, that free play room?
I didn't spend a lot of time in that room. I kind of wish that I had. Again, like a lot of the times when I go to these shows, I don't end up playing a whole lot of pinball.
Yeah.
I just end up talking, like talking and talking and talking to so many people and like kind of hovering and like looking at games and like uh, not a lot of playing. I played House It for like maybe one or two games. Um, I didn't. I wish I had, especially because there was a taxi in that room, and taxi is like my all-time favorite
Oh,
game.
yeah. We have a taxi right there.
It's the best. It's a great game.
Yeah, we have a taxi next to a diner because it belongs next to each other, right? If you're
Yeah,
gonna
the
get,
Chris Granner special. Mark Ritchie, Chris Granner.
yeah, they're perfect together. They're
Yeah.
perfect. We
Yep.
just got an earth shaker. We just brought our earth shaker in for Radical.
That's okay.
Radical had been here a while, and it was a real pain in the ass, to be honest with you, because of the four flippers and the
Yeah.
but it worked great. Good job, Brian, once again. Good job, Brian, once again. So let me ask you a question.
Mm.
I love the Women in Pinball seminar.
Yeah.
So shameless plug here. The Wormhole has a phenomenal relationship with Bells and Chimes Houston,
Good.
and we want to get more people into pinball. So
Mhm.
how do we do that? How do we get more people into this great hobby?
Oh my gosh. Such a question.
Sorry.
It is. It's a big question. I mean, my answer, my kind of stock answer for that is just like I don't know, like be enthusiastic about it. If you see somebody playing, and I don't know, it's
I think it is. I want to, what we try to do at the Wormhole. I don't want to speak for women. I'm not trying to do that.
sure.
But what we try to do is just give everyone a safe place
Yeah.
to play pinball.
Yes.
And I I think we have this no asshole policy here. If you
Mhm.
have that safe place for anyone to come and play pinball, I think they'll get addicted to it. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, because they know they can come back. They know that they're going to be with people who are not going to be disrespectful to them or they're not going to condescend to them.
Yeah.
They feel safe asking questions. That's another thing is a lot of people don't feel very safe asking questions about how things work and might want to give up because they feel overwhelmed or not welcome, right?
That's what I love about the pinball community is the questions. When I first started, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you remember the first pin that gave you the aha moment? I'll
Hmm,
give mine was Attack from Mars. I sucked at it. I'm playing, I'm just bouncing stuff, trying to hit the middle. And Gina Lowe of Houston Pinball, one of the nicest people on the planet, she grabs me and she goes, "You need to do this." At the end of the game, right? The game was over. She wasn't coaching.
yeah,
And she goes, "Do this and this and this and that. And change your lanes up top. You
yeah,
don't know how to do that. You can use
yeah.
those flippers because nobody, no newbie knows how to do that, right? We
It's
always
hard.
do.
That's
It's hard.
it's a hard thing to even get used to. Like once you recognize that it's something that you have to do,
Yeah.
that like I still am instinctively like, oh, flip, 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 flip. I get like really like trigger happy when I see lanes and I'm like, what, like
We all miss them
we do.
occasionally. We all
I'm
miss them.
really terrible at that's making sure that my inlanes and my outlanes are switched. Like I get,
Oh, that too. That is especially with these newer games. They're so
yeah,
integral, those lanes to change. Yeah, you
yeah,
really got to pay attention. You just
yeah,
do. But it was that not she didn't have to do that. She saw I was struggling and she just came to me and went, You're gonna have more fun basically if you know what you're doing. There's a
yeah,
method here of
yeah,
what you want. There's something that you want to accomplish, not just keep the ball alive.
yeah.
That was a big aha moment for me.
There was I was at God, I don't even remember when it was, but there was someone who at the time had worked for Stern, and I'd seen him out playing pinball with his buddies or by himself at Logan and at a local place, which I think is called something different now. It's called Headquarters at the time. And one time he was out, it was like a Friday night, like really, really busy Friday night at this really crowded arcade bar. and he was playing Metallica with his friends, and he had a multi-ball going. And he didn't know me. I didn't really know him. I just recognized him as somebody who plays pinball often. And I kind of walked by. He was in the middle of, I think it was like Sparky, the electric chair multi-ball. And he was handling the balls. He was trapping up and he was like making the balls bounce from flipper to flipper,
Yeah.
post pass, and he was like making shots that he was clearly aiming for and like blowing it up. And I just remember watching this kid and being like, you could do that? How do you do that? Like,
Right.
and just watching him, and then I ended up like being introduced to him because he played in the city league, and then it was actually Taxi. Logan got Taxi in, and he was like, "Oh, you know that there are like the rules to this, right?" And I was like, "No, can you show me?" He's like, "Oh, it's so easy. He goes, you just collect the characters, and then your jackpot's lit, and then you can either get a multi-ball or." I was like, "That is so easy." Like, like I had been so daunted by the idea of pinball having rules and like the lights are overwhelming and all of this stuff. And he just made it so he's like, just aim for this, just do this and this, start there, and then from there you can grow and learn more of the rules, right? And that was like, for me, really, of course, it was people helping and people in the pinball league being, like just being good community members and being encouraging and that, but it was also a lot of observation, just like watching people and then picking it up, right? Like for me, that was something that was really helpful. So it's like, I don't know, we had like another thing that we had for a little while at Logan was we had like an educational series, which is something that might be really good to encourage people, like not just like, oh, this is a safe space, but also like come and ask us questions. Like this is the time that you can come and ask us questions. We'll have a teacher or a tutor or whatever. And that was something else that was like really, really um, helpful. Um, yeah.
There are leagues that do like if you're over 10,000, you pay $5 or something, right?
Right.
And we're thinking about that, something
Okay.
like that. Just, maybe once a month for our Forex. If you're over 10,000, you're $5 instead of 20. Anything
Right.
you can.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Last question for you before we have this little game show called the Hurry Up. It's like
Oh my
rapid.
God.
But not to out your personal life, but is it hard to hear or work at something at Jersey Jack and not being able to talk about it at
Um,
home or with your partner or a significant other or anyone else? Is that hard to do?
no, not anymore.
Okay.
It's hard in the sense that honestly, it's kind of selfish in that like the element of surprise is taken away from me and my experience of having pins for lead. Like I don't know how to articulate this really well, but like so like Avatar just came out, right?
Hmm.
Really excited to work on this game, excited to work with Mark because it was his first game and all of the things that we'd been working on up to that point. And it's not the idea of not being able to tell people, it's the idea of me not being able to experience it fresh, right? Like I
Hmm.
see it from its incubated stage to its fully developed, hatchling, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I don't have that like, oh my God, it's Avatar. There it is. Look at, the UV lights and all of this other stuff. It's so beautiful. It's Mark's first game. It's like that's like kind of a selfish way to look at it because I am very privileged to be able to be there for that whole process. But um no, it's not hard. It's sometimes it's more hard to like catch myself from like spilling the beans, like which I'll never ever do. But like sometimes it'll be like, I can't talk about that. Like that's the hard part really is just being like, okay, realize that, I there are things that I can't say or things that I can't talk about. It's I guess you just get used to it.
How great was it to work on Avatar? Was it just awesome?
It was awesome. It was
Because it's an awesome machine, and I've played it a lot. I got to play it first at the Houston Arcade Expo, and then we went to Chicago and played it a lot at the Jersey Jack booth there. So
I'm I'm so thrilled that it is being so well received. I like again like it was really really cool to work on and again like seeing Mark work on his first game as a game designer and not just as a homebrew designer, which
Mhm.
his work with that is good too. I don't know if you've seen anything from Metroid, which was his homebrew game.
I've only
Um,
seen pictures. I never got to see it.
Oh, so he was streaming that build for a long time, and I think his build is on Pinside. Yeah, he might have documented that as well.
Oh,
But
okay, smart.
so he would hook up his Twitch stream and just be like, oh, I'm programming today, or I'm working on this, that, or the other thing, and that was actually how I ended up meeting Mark before he even worked at Jersey Jack, meeting by internet meet.
Yeah.
Um, so it's cool because it's like, when I first started working at JJP, he was working on the whitewood for Avatar, and he was showing me his shots and stuff like that. And to see him go from that to now he's officially a game designer, and he said it himself, like he feels like one. He's like, yeah, I feel like a game designer now. And I'm like, oh, that's so good to hear. Like it's so rewarding. It's really incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, and the feedback has been really, really positive, which is always great, you
It
know.
has. Yep.
So, I must be hard. I can't even listen to feedback from the podcast, let alone I'm not putting out a giant pinball machine. But this community can be pretty tough. But all in all, I think the community is pretty great, though. I think,
They can.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they can be tough. You're right.
Do you look at any of that stuff? You
I
can't, right?
don't.
You can't as an employee, right?
I don't. I don't. It's most of the time if I'm really curious, I'll hear it from other people. Just be like, "Oh, did you hear about, X, Y, or Z?" And it's like, "Yeah, okay,
Right.
And if it's constructive, then it's constructive and you can try and listen to it, but sometimes it's not always constructive.
Exactly. Exactly. And just stay away like a professional athlete. You can't have Twitter. You just stay
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. I'd rather focus on the positive things and the things that
Absolutely.
I
Well,
can
it's a
control.
great game. Congratulations to Jersey Jack and you and everyone that put that together. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, are you ready for our rapid fire game we call the hurry up?
Hit me with it.
This is thanks to Kale Hernandez, Ian Jacoby, and Donovan Wade for helping me write these questions. It takes a village, Crystal,
It, it
to
truly
put
does.
this podcast together. So, all right, if I had theme music, it would go like dun dun dun, but I don't have
Not yet. Not yet,
it. Chicago deep dish or Chicago hot dog?
Hot dog.
Favorite Lollapalooza that you went to or wished you attended?
None.
You never went to a Lollapalooza?
I never went. I actually went to Riot Fest twice,
All right. I
but
went
no.
to Lollapalooza one when it was a traveling show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I had a lot of
Did you
fun.
see the Chili Peppers?
No, that was Lollapalooza like two or three. Lollapalooza one was Ice-T and then Jane's Addiction.
Oh, that's dope. See, I would have liked to have seen the Chili Peppers for like the second Lollapalooza, I guess.
Yeah, I think they were on Lollapalooza 2 with Metallica.
Oh,
And Lollapalooza 2 was really good, but I didn't go to it. All right, bucket list vintage car to own.
car, like vroom
Car, a
vroom.
vintage car that I know you're into vintage cars. Give me one that you would love to own.
That would be a Datsun 510 wagon. I'm not sure what year, maybe like I don't know what year they really were around. Maybe like 72, 73, like that era.
Awesome. That's awesome. Best pinball expo to visit.
Like pinball show?
Pinball show that you'd like to visit again.
Oh, that's hard. Oh my God, that's hard.
I don't want to hurt feelings. It's okay. It's rapid. You'll be fine.
It's rapid. Honestly, California Extreme.
Okay. California Extreme. Favorite person to eat lunch with at work? That was Kale, by the way.
That's a good question, Gil. Um, oh my gosh. Honestly, Eric Minier, if I can catch him eating, like Eric doesn't always take lunch, but if I can have lunch with Eric, I love having lunch with Eric.
What's your go-to pin at Logan's Arcade right now?
Oh, I haven't been in so long.
Or any arcade. You go in, what's your go-to pin that you're putting a lot of quarters in right now?
Taxi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite era pinball machine to repair?
System 11.
Hardest pinball machine to work on?
Hercules.
That's true. That's true. That makes sense.
You
All
have to
right,
work on
that's
it
it. Thank
like
you
a
so
person.
much for sitting down with me tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate it. I know we
Oh,
had some audio problems in the beginning that nobody got to see, but we got through it, didn't we?
we did. We did okay.
We did great. Where can people find you online if they want to contact you and bug you? Maybe.
Um, I guess my Instagram account, which is
Hey.
Blue Continental. I mostly just take pictures of old cars, but
But if they want to see that, that's where they can see you.
yeah,
Are
you
you
can.
going to the Texas Pinball Festival in
I'm
March?
gonna try. I'd really like to. I haven't been in a while, and I do like that show quite a bit. So I'm gonna try and go to
Try to
that.
come if you can. We have a booth that they put us, last year they put us outside, right?
Mhm.
And it's when you, the walkway to get into the hall. And we
Yep,
were the first booth. And we set the tone, I think, for the TPF. Okay. We have really rare machines that we put in there and let people come and play it and have a party. And we have all these lawn chairs and we have these big TVs where people can watch my stream for the TPF. It is, and we're going to play the longest game of stall ball to date. We've done two. Last year we had about 65 people of stall ball on trailer or no, Future Queen. I don't know which game we did, but we'll do one again and it'll be an
that sounds.
absolute blast.
I mean, you're convincing me right now, like that I gotta go.
You gotta go. It's TPF. It's fun. And you never know. The company you work for might be having something out. So you might have to go. Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? Thank you, Crystal, so, so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great fun.
All right. Take care. Thanks again, Crystal, for coming on the podcast. That was fantastic. I really had a lot of fun speaking with her. She's so genuine and nice, and I really appreciated that conversation. All right, something very funny happened to me yesterday in John Spates, right? I have to share. Today's Tuesday. This podcast will be out on Friday. So Monday night, we're contacted by Texas Country Reporter, which is a division of Texas Monthly Magazine, about doing an interview about the wormhole. Now, we've done a few print interviews before, so we were like, yeah, no worries. John and I got this. Tim and Christine, Janine, you don't need to do it. Jamie and John will do this one. So we scheduled the reporters to come in on a game night for our Twitch channel, and we decided to stream right over there. Tommy, the Who's Tommy Pinball Wizard from Data East. Thanks again, Charles Bucknell, for loaning his pin to the wormhole. It is a beautiful copy. Anyway, so these game streams that we have, if you haven't watched them on Twitch, they're a lot of fun. We've done, I think, 81 of them now. They're not IFPA sanctioned events. They're one strike. They're usually 12 to 16 of us. We each throw in a whopping $2, and the winner gets 24 whatever dollars, which I want to change to $5. If you're listening and you come on Mondays, we're going to $5 in 2025. So we have these reporters come and interview us and take pictures of the game stream. And we're like, this is a perfect night. You guys come by an hour before. So reporters walk in with way too much gear for a print interview. And it's, guess what? It's not an article, it's a TV segment for a Sunday morning Texas news show called Texas Monthly. And we're going to be one of the segments. So, footnote, my wife's out of town. She's in New York. And I don't know if at this point I'm panicking. Do I look good enough for a TV segment? I'm kind of freaking out. John Spates is looking at me like, how did you screw this up now? We thought it was print. We prepared for print. Now we're not prepared. And this was both our first television interview, right? After 2 minutes, John and I had a ball. We actually really had a fun time. We covered topics about our origin story, pinball community in Houston. We talked about barrels of fun, long range of topics. All in all, we spent about 20 minutes being interviewed. Lights on, mics, and then we played the tournament. and they kept our mics on. So it was a blast. Look out for that segment in December. And we will definitely share that video. Hopefully, they don't make us look too bad. All right, follow us on all the socials. Next week will be another episode of Arcades Across America, our podcast series, with my co-host Co from Quarter Drop Arcade, and our guests will be Mike from the Flipper Room and Evan from the Pacific Pinball Museum. That's going to be a great episode. All right, I've kept you long enough. From Wormhole Pinball, I am Jamie Burchell. Don't.